Hey everyone, it's Rob Golfi here with REMAX, the Golfi Team. We're here to talk about what's happening in real estate this week. I got Conrad Zerini here with REMAX Escarvin and REMAX Niagara, and Brian Hogbin with Mission 35 Mortgages. We're going to talk about this. Look at this thing that hit the papers, and it hit the papers, I think, twice. First headline, Hamilton area landlords who owe $144 million seek bankruptcy. And then it hits the paper again, I think, the next day. Private jets, yachts, and parties, Ontario landlords flaunted lavish lifestyle on business began to crumble. Same people. What the hell is that about? I wanted to follow this guy to find out, okay, well, first of all, how the hell did he end up getting $144 million? I mean, that's what, he obviously was good at convincing to get that.
A lot of small investors that, during that whole frenzy of, I got to get into real estate, and 2021 got swept up in it. As a matter of fact, I was interviewed in The Spectator. The guy that interviewed me told me that I'm in Burlington right now, Burlington downtown. He did a function at the Burlington Cultural Center to raise funds, and it was all small investors. I heard there was hundreds and hundreds of mortgages with, and if you read the articles, it's they were promissory notes tied to nothing. Yeah. These poor investors that got sucked up into this with these useless promissory notes are crying today. And the problem is, no one's going to tell anybody, that they got duped. And you know what?
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. CBC uncovered it. They by chance they were in a bankruptcy court and they uncovered it. Kudos to them, and they broke the story. So CBC Hamilton.
It's so true. You know what? Because when it comes down to people losing money, people get quiet. When people are making money, that's when you see the video of the guy on the yacht, right? When everybody's making money, everybody's loud. But there were three different types of loans that were arranged on this. There was a class of secured loans, which are pretty good. And that's the first mortgage. But like Conrad said, they were all arranged with private lenders, and a lot of them mom and pop. Now, I know I even have some investors that, as we lend out private mortgages, and it's sad to see. And if you're an investor, just be aware of your return on investment, because what was happening in some of these cases, and I remember, and this is going back to Conrad, your point, when there was something in the water in 2020, 2021, 2020. And they were getting offered ridiculous rates of return. So if I'm an investor, I've got $100,000, $200,000, and now all of a sudden someone's saying, Brian, you can invest in real estate and make 15, 16, 18%. You know what? Whenever you're getting returns like that, you're taking 18% risk.
Yeah.
The higher return that you are getting, the higher risk you are getting. It is not guaranteed. It is not do not pass go, collect $200. And I'm really interested to see what these disclosures said. The mortgage broker that set them up, because I know the amount of disclosure that you're supposed to have on these things. And I'm really curious to see when our regulator dives into this, what those disclosures said.
So these people trusted this lady and they gave her money to give these guys investments. And wasn't she realizing, listen, I shouldn't be giving unsecured money like this? It was just a promissory note. Here's $5 million. Okay, sign. Yeah, I signed that I will pay it back without any securing it against any property. What the hell's that about?
It's rampant, Rob. It's rampant. And some of the people that might be listening could be those people that have these white pieces of paper, and it's just on a piece of paper. And this to me is the tip of the iceberg. We're seeing it all over. There's another one in Barrie. I will tell you, a landmark building in Vancouver, Bank of Montreal is the secured one at $93 million. Wow. There's another 60 some odd million unsecured. The assessment on the property is $89 million. So the bank is going to get their money, but a bunch of small investors that made up the balance with these white pieces of paper, promissory notes. It's pretty scary.
And it was all fine and dandy when the property value is going up, right? Yes, but as we say, when the tide goes down, you see who's wearing pants and who's not wearing pants. And right now the tide has come down for these guys.
No kidding. I know somebody that invested $500,000 with a similar guy doing investments in there, and he's got zero collateral, zero. If this guy dies tomorrow, this guy the investor has got zero repercussions from it. He will not. I don't even think he's got a piece of paper saying he gave $500,000. That's how much he trusted this,
and you know what,
this guy.
If you are an investor and you're listening to this, because there's been a lot of handshake deals that I've seen over the past 2, 3, 4 years because everybody's making money in real estate. We and Conrad, we just went through the process setting up a mortgage investment corporation.
Yeah.
It took us 7 months to get approved with the regulator, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, like getting the exam, everything. In addition to that, the legal costs, in addition to the insurance that you need to have in place, you're paying a ton of money in errors and omissions insurance. And you have to give out a whack of paper for someone to invest. You have to give out an offering memorandum. It looks like War and Peace. It's like this thick with so many disclosures to do it right. And if you're not getting that, you should look into it more. You should ask more.
Well, head for the hills.
I got to ask you, did any of these guys, if we Googled them, did it show, was there any stuff in the past that you can dig up? These guys, there some kind of scrupulous things that they've done in the past, or is it what was the reputation?
I did read though, and I think he even said it in one of his seminars that he couldn't get. He had bad credit. One of them had bad credit, couldn't get financing, so he needed somebody to co-sign, and that's where he kind of mushroomed. He had the idea, and again, it's a great story, right? I can't get credit, but I've got a great idea and I've got a track record. But it's all smoke and mirrors. The other side of this is the tenants. These people, these tenants, there's 1,000 tenants.
Yeah.
And there's units that are irreparable. You have to bulldoze them. No question about it. So these tenants that are going to be roaming around, and they're SOL, and these people had barely a couple $100,000 in the bank. You know what I mean?
No kidding. No kidding. What about Timmins? These guys, these little small communities.
St. Marie as well too. They would, if they put all their holdings in some of these market areas up for sale, it would flood the market and devalue it. I think this is a story. I know one of the gentlemen involved, and I honestly, and this is one of those things, I don't think the intentions were malicious. I really don't, but I think it's a case of overambition.
Yes.
The overambition and a lack of knowledge. And I think when it comes down to experience, if I ask you, Rob, about housing markets, you've seen some, but if I ask 25-year-old Rob or 30-year-old Rob, you just haven't seen as much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that experience goes a long way.
It does. You're right. It is probably overambition, no doubt about it. This guy wanted to be a billionaire. You could tell he just wanted to keep buying and buying and buying. He thought the market was going to keep going up and just keep going. And then it just he got this guy but he was still borrowing even though he was in trouble. And they were still lending him money. I just, I feel sorry for the people that are losing this money. And I'll tell you, I remember when you guys were opening up the your investment fund for mortgages, Holly came to me and says, Rob, would you invest? I says, absolutely. Because and I know you guys, and I know Conrad, I know your family, and I know of all the people, I'll tell you something. You've had partnerships with many people.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, in some of those partnerships you're still partners with. Some of them, you've probably bought out because they wanted to get out or whatever, but you're still friends with all your partners.
Absolutely.
Even partners that you bought out. And I go, that tells you something. I said, Holly, I would be investing, but I've got all my money in real estate. But I said they are the people that you can trust because it's second generation. Their parents were great people in the community. Conrad's and Brian, great people in the community. You got to look up reputation. I think it's important. I know I'm doing a plug for you guys.
No, I appreciate
it. But I truly believe that you got to look at reputation. You got to look at, who's been in the community this long. I'm going to tell you who they associate themselves with. You associate, you know all the major developers and you've dealt with them. You sat with them at tables. I mean, man, I learned from you just from you being with, you telling me things that you hear that what's happening in the market in the development world, but but I could see the average consumer getting sucked in by this hyped big meeting room, and all of a sudden they got this real estate is the lights, thing. The cameras, I feel sorry.
You gotta look under the kimono, right? You gotta look what's behind the curtain, because if you got a 25, 30-year-old person, number one, telling you how the Bitcoin millionaires, right? All the Bitcoin millionaires that end up saying like, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. It's like, how do you know? It's been around for 10 minutes. How do you know what it's going to do?
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's going one step further.
And the other thing is you can't have a business model based on cheap money. And that's what it was. So they had a bit like look, that cheap money, like we all think, 2021, 2020, and the 3 or 4 years prior when it was 2%, that was not going to last forever. And you can't build a business model on that cheap money and hoping that rents will escalate and again,
values. And
values, and then you got inflation and all that kind of stuff. But I will say this, it's interesting. Brookfield came out, the CEO of Brookfield came out and said about industrial, commercial, and office. And it's at a point where it's right in transition. And I think all real estate categories are in transition. We can learn from this. Renovations, materials, everything is expensive. Okay. So anybody with existing real estate right now is gonna do very, very well. And if you keep acquiring, you've got a lot of runway. And that's what they were saying. There's going to be a lot of acquisitions in the next little while coming out, especially in that end. And it soon follows in residential. And we saw it in January. I don't know about Brian if he's seen it quite yet, but on our end, I know Rob's seen it with his team, and we've seen it with ours. We had a record January. We haven't seen a January like that. Appointments are up about 40-50% from December. Sales are up significantly. So it's starting to build.
Things are picking up.
And I think you said on this too, just in regard to that this article too. Like, remember, it's about the runway that you said, Conrad, too. Like, you have the runway with it. Like, when you try to make $150 million work for you in the matter of like 6, 9, 12 months. Yeah, that's like, like maybe Brookfield can do that. Some other people can, but the average people can't. No. Right. So it's like, buy it, hold on to it. The tried, tested, and true things that we've always talked about in this. You buy it, you hold it, you're going to have a little up, little down. I know this whole BRRRR strategy was never my favorite, the buy, renovate, refinance, and rent out. And I think that was their mantra for it.
Yes.
And it works great in a market that's going like this, but it doesn't work in a market like.
But I think they couldn't handle the amount that they were buying. Didn't they have a lot of vacant units that were were just paying? They were paying interest on, and they just weren't collecting any rent.
Well, like no trades. There was no trades. They couldn't renovate. Like, and again, that's exactly what Brian's saying. And I'm a firm believer in building the asset, maybe, and selling it, and then buying something and upgrading the asset as well. And I think that's more a long-term strategy. And that's what these guys like Brookfield is doing, and BlackRock and Blackstone and all that kind of stuff. They're coming in and out of asset categories. And I think our consumers are doing the same. This is a super great time to upgrade right now. Sell that, that entry-level home right now, because it's really bubbling up. And now's your time to invest in something a little larger where you can kind of negotiate and you get better value. So this is a real pivotal time for buyers and sellers in this marketplace right now. So
absolutely. I think this year is, what? It's funny how we went through a tough time in real estate, and it seemed long, but actually it's a blink. It's a blink. And things are just gonna. I truly feel this year will be moderately well. Like, it's not going to be like 2021, and that may not happen for a long time. Like, the amount of sales, like the sales were record sales, and I think the last time there was record sales like that was that 2017 or 18. And then the time before that was...
Well, the unit sales were up like 2000. It depends where you are. 2015, 2016 was pretty remarkable. We had a big increase in pricing in 17.
That's right. That's right.
But the actual unit sales, it's actually 2015 and 2021 for unit sales.
But you know what? If you look at that, the last time, what was 5 years ago? 2021. But if you look at it, our sales volume, not sales volume, unit sales.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like it looks like it's happening every 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Like when we hit a peak in unit sales. Yep. So like, I truly feel that we're going to see that again in 3 years from now, maybe less, 2 years. Yep. Like,
immigration will see peaks in unit sales. Like, we're going to see, because we're going to be continuing to build more, there's going to be people buying more. I think you're going to see more and more.
Yeah.
More sales happen.
And these guys, you know what they also said? The the band of three over there. They were saying no matter how high you buy, you'll always, you'll make the money in the long run. Well, yeah, I believe that to a certain point, but yes, but then there's catch up. So especially if you bought in a really hot market in 2021, you got some catch up to do. I'm not saying
for sure
it's dire straits, but there's more catch up. But if you're buying in a time right now, Rob, you are bang on. The next 3 years is going to be tremendous growth. Yeah. Absolutely, bar none.
Minimum 5 to 10 years. You got to hang on to it. Hang on. One quick thing. We got about a minute left.
Yeah.
Brampton home renting out multiple rooms. People living in car. Okay, we need immigrants to pay for the baby boomers that are retiring. Okay, I get it, but we're not building enough houses, and now we're starting to become most expensive third world country.
Yes.
Like people are living in their people's driveways, in their cars, 20 people in the house. They're pissing all over around the side of the house. Neighbors are going crazy. Like
it's crisis. Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, if us three were parked in someone's driveway because we couldn't afford to live and in let's say in Hamilton or Burlington, they would take us away by handcuffs. Why are these guys getting away with it?
Because it's epic proportions. Like this is a crisis. And I was just in Portugal, and Portugal, the same thing. Germany, the same thing. We all got caught, with our proverbial pants down. And I think governments have to now forget about tax relief. They've got to start to pony up with money. Because that ain't going to do it. But this is a problem, and they're closing a blind eye to it because they have nowhere to house these people. Nowhere. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week.